When you look at age demographics, any manufacturer is going to tell you that they want to attract a younger audience to the brand. I mean, let's face it, the younger buyer is going to tend to purchase the entry-level model and then hope to stay within that brand when it comes time to upgrade, which brings me to a very important vehicle within the Volvo lineup. This is the all-new 2019 Volvo XC40, a new entry-level subcompact SUV designed to go head-to-head with the likes of the BMW X1, the Mercedes GLA, and of course the Audi Q3. But the big question I want answered is this all-new Volvo XC40 the perfect vehicle for millennials? That's what we're here to find out. So if you're going to attract a younger audience to the brand, you need to do it with a vehicle that really stands out when you look at the overall design. You can see for the 2019 XC40, Volvo has pretty much accomplished this. If you guys really like the styling direction that they first introduced on the larger XC90 a few years ago, you're going to really like this. Now, unlike the XC60 that I just showed you guys a few months ago, it has a design that kind of looks like a cousin of the XC90 and 60 as opposed to a direct sibling. That's because this rides on an entirely different platform. Volvo calls it the CMA for Compact Modular Architecture. It's actually shared with Geely in terms of its actual development cost. Now you can see the overall look of the XC40 is definitely a standout with this vehicle. You're going to have LED headlights as standard equipment on all the trims. Volvo will offer it in 3 different flavors. There's the Momentum, like this one, which is the base, the R Design, which is kind of like the sportier model, and then the top of the line luxurious Inscription. But as you can see, full LED headlights are standard. You have LED daytime running lights, which are shaped like that Thor's hammer, like all the other Volvo vehicles. They incorporate the LED turn signal. You have an LED low and high beam. And then if you guys option in a premium package, you'll get LED fog lights on the Momentum. They'll be standard on the R Design and the Inscription model. You can see the grille has that typical Swedish Volvo look to the design with the crosshair in the center with the Volvo emblem. It houses the 360 camera, the radar sensor for the adaptive cruise control. And overall, it's a very clean look. It's a very cute look. In fact, I think that Volvo really got the proportions and the size right when they were designing this XC40. From the side profile of the XC40, you can see it also has an equally appealing looking design. It doesn't look like the traditional shape of the XC60 or the XC90. I especially like the two-tone that my tester has. It really contrasts nicely with this Amazon blue, which is exclusive to the Momentum trim, and that white contrasting roof with the A-pillars being white, the mirrors being white, and then these wheels. These are an optional 19-inch black and white 5-spoke wheel, which definitely are unique. I've never seen a black and white wheel finish. 18-inch wheels are going to be standard. You can option this vehicle to have up to a 21-inch wheel if you guys go for a Volvo accessory. Most of you are probably going to go with these 19-inch wheels, which are wrapped in 235 series rubber, which really fill out the wheel wells nicely. Now, being that this is a traditional SUV in terms of its shape, it actually looks more like an SUV, which is in contrast to some competitors which look more like hatchbacks. Now, in terms of the actual size of this vehicle, it is a considerable amount shorter than the XC60. Its wheelbase at 106.5 inches long is about 6 inches shorter than the XC60, and at an overall length of around 174 inches long, this is a full 10 inches shorter than the mid-size XC60. It's about the same length as things like the BMW X1, the Cadillac XT4, and the Audi Q3. Now again, if you guys don't like the contrasting roof, you can get this painted either black or body color depending on the trim configuration. Love the aluminum accented rear or roof rails that really clean up the look, that give it a really nice stance. And if you guys are wondering, this is actually a true SUV in terms of ground clearance. Volvo says it has around 8.3 inches of ground clearance, which is pretty good. That's typically about an inch higher than most of the vehicles in this segment. So you could theoretically take this vehicle off-road because all-wheel drive is included on this particular version of this XC40. At the rear of the XC40, you can see the design is instantly recognizable as a Volvo, especially with these vertical stacked LED combination rear taillights. You can see the brake light is an LED, the turn signal is just an incandescent, the reverse light appears to be an LED as well. And overall, it really matches the actual look of the front. I love, again, the contrasting white with this white roof spoiler with the Amazon blue. You have the traditional black plastic cladding that a lot of SUVs have, and then there are these really nicely well-integrated parking sensors. Now, my tester, being the Momentum, does not have any exposed exhaust tips. It's actually hiding underneath the rear bumper. Now, Volvo does offer like an accessory sport package for $2,700 that'll give you kind of a rear diffuser look with exhaust tips, or you guys can just simply spring for the R design or the inscription trim, which will already include that feature. On this particular trim, it's definitely more of a cleaner, much more luxury look without the rear combination or the rear exhaust tips. Now, in terms of the actual cargo capacity, this is an SUV, so that's still very important. Now, all the trims will have the power liftgate as standard equipment. You can also option in a foot-activated power liftgate if you guys go for the upper trims. And you can see here, cargo capacity is not bad considering how small this vehicle is. Volvo says it's rated at around 20.2 cubic feet of space, which is pretty good. It actually looks a lot larger than this when you compare it. I mean, really, if you got rid of the cargo cover here, you could really stack this up. It's a lot more than what you get in the Mercedes-Benz GLA or the Infiniti QX30 or the Lexus UX, which again are a little bit smaller than this vehicle in terms of the design. One thing that Volvo included, very clever, there's this really cool underfloor storage area where the divider, you can create a little divider here so you can kind of keep your stuff from moving around when you're driving. And then if you want to fold down the rear seats, you get around 47.8 cubic feet of space. Now that does trail the BMW X1, which offers around 12 more cubic feet of space versus this model. So you guys have heard me say the outside of this vehicle definitely stands out, but what about the interior of the XC40? Well, let's take a look at the inside, but let me first talk about the key fob. You guys have seen this current key fob from Volvo before. It's a really cool looking key. Now, the difference between this and the larger models that I've seen, or that I've noticed, the key's not wrapped in the same interior leather that you get in the larger models. Now, that may be a possibility if you guys go for the inscription model, but unfortunately, since I don't have that here, I don't know for sure. You can see the buttons here are on the side of the vehicle. You can open up the rear liftgate, lock and unlock it. It's a very large key. It feels a little bit on the cheaper side though, because it's just a plastic key as opposed to the metal leather wrapped ones you get in the bigger models. Now, the keyless access system is actually optional. This particular one has it as an option. The keyless ignition is standard. Now, if you want to lock the doors, just touch this little area here with your finger with the key fob on you. As you can see, the doors will lock. The mirrors will also electrically fold. When you want to unlock the door, Volvo does a sensor in the back of the handle. Just touch that, and then it'll unlock the door for you. Now, my tester has a really nice interior combination with the two-tone. It's basically got this beige interior with the black. It's got the optional ebony black headliner at the top, so that's really nice. You can see the fabric or the carpeted trim kind of goes throughout the door panel here, which Volvo actually offers an orange color on certain trims if you guys go for the R design. I really like the carpeted material they put in the door panels. It's really unique. I haven't seen this in vehicles since the 90s. So again, Volvo's kind of, trying to innovate here, trying to bring back a little bit of retro theme and incorporating it with some modern flair. Now you can see the seats. These are basically an 8-way power adjustable seat. They're heated. They offer a 2-person memory. Cooled seats are not available on this vehicle, as neither is the massaging seats you can get on some of the bigger models, which is kind of what I expected. The rear seats, or the seats in general, as you can see, the headrests, they kind of protrude forward very much. So my recommendation, try the seats out before you sit in this vehicle. I find the seats to be comfortable like other Volvo products, but I've seen some people complain that the seats are not comfortable for them. So again, try the seats out when you first get into this vehicle. Now, stepping inside, you can see the XC40 has basically the perfect step-in height, and you have that nice commanding view of the road that you typically get with all SUVs. And then when you shut the door, it sounds really solid, so it doesn't surprise me. This is based on the new Compact Modular Architecture. We're going to see a lot of Volvos on this platform in the coming years. Now, unlike the larger XC60 and 90, there's no ignition little toggle here where you turn it. Instead, it's got a traditional button over here, so like everything else, just put your foot on the brake, push the button here to fire up the engine. And you can see it has that typical Volvo chime. It's got this lovely 12-inch display right here in the center, right in the instrument panel. This is actually standard equipment on the base, even the base trim. This is standard equipment, so really great that Volvo included that. You also get their 9-inch Sensus Connect infotainment system. It's a tablet-like display. This is basically running on generation 2, I believe. Volvo has really beefed up the processing speed, and this is basically the home page where you've got, you know, your navigation, you got your audio, phone, and then you can customize this little area over here based on what you'd like to see. Just like a tablet, if you swipe over to the right, you have all these different options over here, all your different apps and whatnot. Swipe over to the left, you can see you can adjust the settings of the vehicle. You can go to the camera settings, you can fold down the rear headrest, and then you can also go into the settings menu over here where you can change all the different settings in here, whatever you like. The mood lighting you can change the way those gauges look. There's a lot of customization. That's kind of what you expect. It's a little overwhelming at first when you first get into this vehicle, but I have to say, once you figure out how the system works, it's actually not too bad. You can see Apple CarPlay is definitely included with this vehicle as well, and Volvo was one of the first to actually include the Apple CarPlay, where you can basically look at other screens in addition to looking at the Apple CarPlay. So instead of like taking up the whole screen, as you can see here, it only fills up a smaller portion of the screen. Or you can also go to Waze, which again, it fills up. Once it actually loads, it will fill up just this little area of the screen, which is typically taking up most of the screen on all the other brands, but Volvo instead gives you this little tiny portion here, which is good, so you can access everything else. So really unique there, but let's talk about the rest of the interior. Now, this is Volvo's least expensive model, so you might expect there's some cost cutting here, and there definitely are measures of cost cutting, but Volvo has hidden it very well. You can see the dashboard is made of a soft touch injection molded plastic material. You can't get that full leather stitch dash like you can get on the upper trims. I love this real aluminum textured trim you get on the Momentum package. If you guys go for the Artisan or the Inscription, you're going to have a different trim piece here, which the Inscription includes like a driftwood inlays to kind of go with the theme of the vehicle. The soft touch materials are echoed onto the door panels here on the front and on the rear. You have some cheaper feeling plastic on this area here, but there's some nice aluminum trim. You have an aluminum door handle, nice metal speaker covers for the Harman Kardon sound system, which sounds fantastic as a 13 speaker audio system, part of that multimedia package upgrade that my tester has. Highly recommend that. Love the carpet here on the actual door panels. This is a nice padded area right here. It's soft touch. The windows are one touch express up down for all four. Wasn't expecting that, but again, this is a premium brand, so it's good that Volvo gave you that. You have power folding mirrors. You can basically access the child lock from the front seats here, which is a uniquely Volvo thing. The door panels here are all hard touch plastic, which I kind of expected. The air vents here, again, they feel really high quality. They're super unique. All the soft touch materials are kind of carried over here, but it is hard touch plastic over here with your button to open your rear liftgate and then your dimmer switch. The steering wheel, as you can see, it's nicely leather wrapped. It's got really thick side extensions so it feels good in your hand. It's not a flat bottom wheel, and there's no like aluminum trim on this portion here, but it is like aluminum trim on this side of the steering wheel. The steering wheel itself is just a manual tilt telescoping, which I actually complained about in the bigger Volvos, but in this lower trim, it's a little bit more acceptable. The gauges, you can see, this is basically the standard look. You can put the GPS screen there in the center. If you go into the menu sources here, you can change that out if you'd like. The center stack here, you can see typical controls. Your drive mode selector, you can see there's 5 different drive modes here. This car does not have the adaptive variable suspension. There's no air suspension on this vehicle, so it doesn't raise or lower the suspension. And if you guys don't get the option for $1,000 that my tester is missing, you're not going to have any adjustability to the suspension. It's just basically fixed. We'll go into the ride quality later on. You can see here there's some cheap plastic down here, which is kind of okay. This is, remember, their lowest trim. You have a very large knob here to control the volume, your hazard switch over there. You can basically change the radio station. No tuning knob here though. I would like to see Volvo eventually include that. My tester includes a wireless charger that's part of like a premium package. Really great that Volvo includes that. It also is a really great space for your phone. Your 2 USB ports are over here. You've got a USB-C port as well. And then there's a little bit of storage over there. Now you can see 2 cup holders over here. Not much in terms of covered storage, which you can go to the center console here for. Now the shifter, let me first put into reverse. Which you have to double tap forward to go into reverse. That's a Volvo thing. You can see the camera quality resolution is excellent. This is basically one of the top views in the industry. You can basically click right there. It'll go to a 360 top-down view, which again gives you a tremendous view. It's got automatic parallel parking and perpendicular parking. It's got sensors all around. This is a really great system, and I think Volvo has definitely nailed it in terms of the way this looks. It also has rear cross traffic alert with rear braking in case you're going to hit something. This will also apply the brakes for you automatically. So again, really great to have, and the resolution of the camera is just phenomenal. So I love that. Now down here you can see electronic parking brake, which is great. You have an automatic brake hold feature, which is good. One pretty unique feature, you're probably wondering, what is that? Well, open up the center console here. This is actually a trash can. It's a removable trash can that comes out that basically gives you, a place where you can store your trash. There's a little bit of a netted area there. This is super cool. I think a lot of brands really need to think of something like this as well, because it's just a really cool option where you can just take out this removable trash can. You can see there's another good storage area over there, which is covered. This is a nice padded lid. Now, a couple of other clever storage options in this vehicle. If you look at the driver's seat here, pull this out, it gives you a nice little storage area here where you could put like your phone or your wallet, keys, you can hide stuff in there, so that's really cool. The glove compartment of this vehicle, you can see here, it's a typical glove compartment. It's damped but not lined with felt, but Volvo offers this cool little hook that looks like it holds a maximum of 2 kilograms, where you can basically hook something onto there. Again, so super clever feature. Feels a little bit on the cheap side, like it feels like you could break this easily if you put something too heavy there, but this lid over here is hard touch plastic, so the soft touch doesn't carry over there. So they've kind of cut cost in certain areas where you're not going to notice it quite as much, but the rest of this interior feels really premium, and it's full of all the technology features you get in the bigger Volvos. Now you can see the seats. I think they're very comfortable, they're supportive, but again, try the seats out, because some people may complain that the headrests, they protrude too far forward, which you cannot adjust. Above you, my tester has a $1,200 panoramic sunroof, which is standard on the Inscription model, optional on all the other trims. This headliner here, the black headliner, is also $200, but overall it really brightens up the cabin. It really will impress a lot of people and fool you into thinking that this is the most expensive Volvo as opposed to the least expensive Volvo in the lineup. Now, despite the diminutive proportions on the outside, when you get into the rear seat of the XC40, you're going to actually find a pretty good amount of rear seat space. Now, Volvo actually rates the legroom here at around 36.1 inches. It's only about 2 inches less than what you get in the midsize XC60, and really it gives you about 2 inches more than what you get in most of the competition. Anytime you have a rear seat space that's around 36 inches, this is going to be great for people who are under 6 feet tall. I'm 5'7". You can see I've got plenty of legroom. There's good foot space. There is a hump here that does intrude on the middle passenger, but as you can see here, plenty of headroom for myself. This panoramic sunroof lets in a lot of light. Now, the rear seat here does not fold or slide forward or anything like that, so it's fixed, but you do get things like a nice armrest here with dual cup holders. You have rear seat air vents. You have a power outlet. What is missing from this one is heated rear seats, although I don't think the Inscription model offers that. I don't think Volvo offers it in general, but you do have 2 rear seat map pockets here, and then again, a lot of airy space in here, so it really is very useful, especially if you guys need to actually put people in the back seat of the XC40. So underneath the rather large hood of the XC40, Volvo actually offers a choice of 2 different powertrains here in North America. Now, overseas, they offer this thing with like a 3-cylinder turbo, 4-cylinder, and gas and diesel options. Now, in America, it's a little bit more simple. You get a choice between 2 powertrains. This was the motor at launch. It's a T5 trim level. It's basically a 2-liter turbocharged direct injection 4-cylinder from the XC60. In this application, it makes 248 horsepower and 258 pound-feet of torque. So that number is actually a lot higher than most of the competition, about 20 more horsepower than the BMW X1 and about 40 more horsepower than what you get in the Mercedes-Benz GLA and the Audi Q3. So really great numbers if you guys go for the T5 configuration, which does come standard with all-wheel drive. Now, if you guys don't want all-wheel drive, you can also get a T4, which is basically this motor but detuned to make 187 horsepower and 221 pound-feet of torque. Those numbers compare favorably to the Lexus UX 200, which had a naturally aspirated 4-cylinder, which I didn't really love, but I'm going to be driving this T5 configuration, which is probably the one that most of you are going to get. Now, as this one sits, it weighs around 3,600 pounds with the all-wheel drive. It's about 100 pounds lighter if you guys go for the front drive T4. It all goes out through an 8-speed automatic transmission. Now, in case you're wondering, fuel economy is actually pretty good. 23 in the city, 33 on the highway for the T4, 23 in the city, 31 on the highway if you guys get this T5 with all-wheel drive. Premium gas is recommended, not required. Now, later in the model year and the coming years, Volvo says they will eventually offer this thing in electrified versions, so a hybrid, a full electric are planning to be coming in the next couple of years, so stay tuned for that. But until then, let's get this T5 out on the road and see how it performs. So the all-new XC40 was slightly delayed in terms of its launch in America, and we're just starting to now see them coming into dealer showrooms. I actually haven't had a chance to really see very many out on my local roads, but I do know that Volvo sold almost 1,000 of these last month, which again, compared to all of 2018, they really didn't sell any because it went on sale so late in the model year 2018. But regardless, I've been really looking forward to driving this new XC40. You guys have voiced your opinions, asking me to review this car so many times, and Volvo was supposed to give me the car a couple of months ago, but it got delayed, it got pushed back. So finally, I have the new XC40, and I have to say, first sitting down the road in this car, I'm not disappointed. For a new architecture that's been co-developed with Geely, this vehicle feels really well made. It feels very solid. It has the characteristics of the larger Volvos, the SPA platform, but just in a smaller package. And what Volvo really did a really good job on was making this thing ride really well. Even though my car has the 19-inch wheels, the fixed dampers, it has a very smooth and controlled ride. The structure feels nice and solid, yet at the same time, they preserve the space efficiency because this is a car that feels relatively roomy on the inside, which is an important thing, especially in this segment where everything kind of feels small. Now, there's no launch control or anything like that. This car does have an auto start stop function, which you'll be finding yourself turning off a lot from this little button over here because it's very slow, as you can see, and a little lurchy, so I found myself turning that off. Now, in dynamic mode, we'll brake torque it slightly, 248 horsepower. Let's see how this feels. Ooh! Wasn't expecting that. Really wasn't expecting that level of acceleration. I'm genuinely surprised at how well this thing actually took off. Now, it did push me back in my seat. Now, that's because I was building up the boost pressure. I got it up to around 2,500 RPMs and let go of the brake, and it really did a good job of pushing me back in the seat. This feels like a 0 to 60 time of the low 6-second range. Volvo says it's around 6.5 seconds. This is basically quicker than most of the competition, about the same as a BMW X1, so love that Volvo is putting in lots of power. Now, in terms of the rest of the feel, in dynamic mode, this is still not what I would say a very sporty vehicle. Now, I did hit a pretty nasty pothole there. Ouch. Sorry, car. But it did soak up the bump relatively well. But again, keep in mind that this one has the fixed dampers, not the adaptive suspension. Now, the steering in this car gets progressively heavier in dynamic mode, but it's still, I wouldn't really would call it very, very sporty. Volvos in general aren't very sporty. They more favor comfort, which if you guys are looking for a luxury sedan, you want that comfort aspect, this is the car to get. This is the brand to get. Even though it's in its sportiest setting, it still rides well. The steering, while it is very responsive, it has an artificial heft to it. Again, this is not the sportiest entry in the segment, but it is one of the most well-rounded entries in the segment. Now, unlike those herky-jerky dual clutches that some competitors have, Volvo puts a very smooth 8-speed automatic in this thing, and you really notice the smooth shifts in this vehicle. It's a really nice to drive, comfortable car. That feels really good in terms of acceleration, so I'm really happy with the way this thing accelerates, the way it feels. It's just going to be a really great daily driver, and it every bit feels like a 0 to 60 time of around 6.5 seconds. Now, in terms of the actual visibility, this is also really easy to see out of. You can see the hood is nice and low. This pillar here is a little bit on the larger side, but it's got a big side mirror. Basically, Volvo's driver assistance stuff, remember, this is Volvo, they're known for their safety stuff. Their full suite of active safety driver assistance stuff is actually optional. It's part of a premium package if you guys want the Pro Pilot Assist, which is kind of Volvo's version of Tesla's autopilot per se. If you guys want automatic emergency braking with mitigation, that's actually standard on every XC40, so you don't have to get that. If you guys want blind spot monitoring, that is optional. You have to get that premium package, as I said, but it works pretty well. It works like all the other Volvo systems. The car will actively keep you in the lane. The cruise control will follow you to a full stop. It's got like traffic jam assistance, that's Audi's saying for it, but it will help you in, when you're stuck in rush hour traffic, the car will kind of drive itself. And the seats, I find them to be really comfortable. The view out of the back is also good. Now, in terms of the handling, again, soft suspension, but very confidence inspiring, and the quietness in here. Now, the engine, it definitely doesn't make what I would say pleasant noises. Let's put it here into its manual mode. No paddles. You have to get the R design for paddles. It actually won't go into first there, which most transmissions won't. The engine itself basically has that traditional 4-cylinder growl. Volvo is kind of amplifying the noise ever so slightly. There are faint hints of turbo whistle noise when you guys don't have any music playing, like right now. I do hear a little bit of that faint turbo whistle noise. But other than that, it's just kind of a rather uninspiring 4-cylinder noise. So if you guys want something that's a little meaner sounding, some of the competitors are going to offer a more visceral experience, whereas the Volvo kind of just favors comfort. Now in terms of the drive modes here, you can see I've got it in dynamic now. Let's go to comfort here. The transmission, as you can see, kind of will go directly into its top gear, so it kind of gets a little bit quieter. That's the other thing. This car has surprisingly quiet, very little road, very little wind noise, very little engine noise. The steering gets very light and numb. So again, I don't like that mode, which is why I'd probably just go to dynamic mode at that point. Remember, this car does not have adaptive dampers, no air suspension, so this actually doesn't toggle the suspension settings at all. It just toggles the transmission tuning, the throttle response, and the steering responsiveness. Now I have the stability control in its sport setting there, and it actually did let the back end step out ever so slightly, but man, this car definitely doesn't enjoy being pushed hard on a back road. It can do it, and this thing's fast. Honestly, it's really fast. It just doesn't inspire as much confidence as I would like it to do. This feels more, again, a traditional soft riding sport ute, even in its most aggressive setting. But you may need to test drive the R-Design model that gives you a slightly firmer suspension tuning. But this thing is still surprisingly fun. It's got plenty of power. It rides nice. It's full of all the technology. It feels innovative. It feels new. It feels young. And I think that's what attributes to the success of the XC40. All the other competitors, either they're too many compromises. They feel cramped, they're underpowered, they're kind of boring. So Volvo's kind of wrapped it all in this really nice wrapper that will appeal to a lot of younger buyers and even the older buyers as well. You don't have to be a millennial to enjoy a vehicle like this. And if you're looking to downsize, the XC40 is definitely one of those vehicles that you should put at the very top of your consideration list. So after spending the week with the all-new Volvo XC40, I want to first come back to the original question I asked at the beginning of this video. Is this all-new SUV the perfect vehicle for the millennial buyer? And after spending the whole week with this thing, I can proudly conclude that it is uniquely Volvo, and it's also unique in terms of attracting a new clientele to this brand, right down to the Swedish flag that sticks out of the hood over here on the side of each of the fenders. It's just a really cool design that I think will stand out and will age extremely well. As you guys saw from the test drive, while it is not the sportiest vehicle in the segment, it has one of the best ride qualities. It's got really good acceleration from the T5 engine. It's got really stable and confident handling. It's got a really clever interior, full of technology, very useful, very practical. This is a really easy car to live with. And if you guys don't like the two-tone roof, remember you can always get it in several different trims. If you want a sportier look, they offer the R-Design. If you want a more luxury look, they offer the Inscription model. So there's kind of an XC40 for every flavor of buyer, which is really going to help people who are looking for a vehicle in this segment. It really is so much better than all the other competition I've driven, the Mercedes GLA, the Audi Q3, the Lexus UX. Haven't driven the newest X1, but I will say that this vehicle in general is just a much more appealing looking car, and it also drives well. It has more horsepower than that BMW in general. So with all that said, what's it going to cost to put an XC40 in your driveway? Well, Volvo actually offers 3 different ways you can purchase this thing. This was the first vehicle to be introduced with their Care by Volvo subscription service. It's basically like an all-inclusive monthly payment. So think of it as basically a lease that includes maintenance, it includes insurance, and Volvo basically offers this car that you're seeing here, the Momentum package, for around $700 a month. This is basically a 24-month lease at 15,000 miles per year with the option to upgrade your car basically every 12 months if you guys would like to do so. And if you guys don't want the Momentum trim, you can go for the Inscription model, or I'm sorry, the R-Design model for about $100 more, because that model is roughly around $3,000 more expensive versus this particular trim configuration. Honestly, it's a really appealing option if you factor in the fact that you only have to pay for the payment and for the fuel cost. Insurance and scheduled maintenance, as I said, is included in that monthly payment. Now, if you guys aren't interested in that, Volvo does basically offer this car to starting price at $33,200 for a base T4 with front-wheel drive in the Momentum package. Now, the Momentum trim already comes very well equipped. You'll have the real leather, you'll have the heated seats, you'll have the 12-inch display, you'll have the 9-inch Senses Connect with Apple CarPlay, you'll have the keyless ignition, the power liftgate. Really, this is very well equipped. It doesn't feel like the least expensive model. As you guys know, mine is the Momentum trim. Now, if you guys want the T5 with all-wheel drive, it's going to be around $2,000 more expensive, so $35,300. My tester being a Volvo, they do offer several plethoras of options on this vehicle, just a crap ton of options. My car has about $9,000 worth of options. That's a shit ton of options, but from the panoramic sunroof to the premium package to the vision package to the advanced tech package to the multimedia package, this thing at $44,315 does sound expensive. Just keep in mind though, the last new Cadillac XT4 that I drove was over $55,000, and I just find the Volvo to be a much more appealing car in general. It's more youthful, it's more spunky, it's more fun, it's more unique. It'll stand out in terms of the design, and that's really the important aspect of the XC40. So if you guys are looking for an entry-level subcompact CV, you definitely need to put this one at the very top of your list. But I hope you guys have enjoyed my full overview on this 2019 Volvo XC40. If you're also looking to see the latest cars I'm testing, be sure to follow me on Instagram at Redline_reviews. Like us on Facebook. As always, guys, please keep subscribing to the Redline Reviews YouTube channel for all the latest reviews. Thank you so much for watching. I'll catch you all in the next video. Like right now, I do hear a little bit of that faint turbo whistle noise. But other than that, it's just kind of a rather